Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Oh, well, I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here today. Today was not promised to me, so I'm happy. I don't know about you all. But welcome to the Moreno Valley Unified School District Board of Education meeting. We are reconvening into open session at 5:38 p.m. So can I get a roll call, please?
Evan Morgan, present. Go ahead.
Angel Hernandez, student rep, present.
Jesus Holguin, present.
Susan Smith, present.
Gary Baugh, present.
C.J. Johnson, present.
Martin Rex Kedzior, present.
Robert Verdi, present.
Tina Dagnall, present.
Maribel Maddox, present.
Thank you. Report out of closed session. We had just one item, and it had to do with student discipline cases. Moving on to C3, Pledge of Allegiance, can be led by our recent graduate, Mr. Angel Hernandez, please.
If I can please ask you guys to stand for the pledge. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Is that it? Do you have inspiration? Please remain standing until he gets done.
My inspirational quote is, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination, by Jimmy Dean.
Good job.
Okay, moving on to item C4, staff response to public comments made at previous meetings. Do we have any?
Do you want to say anything about that? Or you
Yeah.
At our last meeting, there were two questions raised, and I'm not going to have them on the screen tonight, but one of them was about the assessed tax rate from Measure M, and I'm just going to give you an example of the assessed valuation, but on a $250,000 home, from a prior bond, the assessment per year is $109.48, and from Measure M, it's $148.53. That's for an entire year, and that amounts to $258, a total annual tax, which comes out to $21.50 per month. So at the next board meeting, Mr. Baugh, you had asked me to have these responses, and because this was a special board meeting, I'm doing them verbally, but the next one I'll have them on the screen where people can see them. But I do want to emphasize that in Measure M, the tax rate per $100,000 of assessed valuation is kept below $60
A year.
a year, and that's what was done when the bond was passed, and they always try, as more projects are done, they always try to keep it under $60 per year. So that's per $100,000 of assessed valuation. So I gave you an example of a $250,000 house assessed, and the total is $258. That's the total annual tax, which is $21.50 per month. Then the second issue that came up was a commercial versus residential pool construction. As many people are aware, a pool that is constructed by a resident is a different price than a pool that is constructed by a school district. Commercial pools, unlike residential pools, have requirements under the California Building Code because they are public. Unlike residential pools, commercial pools have larger water surface areas, require continuous fixed gutters, a surge tank, automatic controllers, storage of hundreds of gallons of acid and chlorine, a large capacity electrical commercial pumps, a lift. They have to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. They have to have starting blocks, lane lines, rope anchors, white plaster, and many other costly features. They also require a geotechnical report where a residential pool does not. Pool decks, lighting, fencing, all are more costly than your traditional backyard pool. The entire cost to plumb a backyard pool is a couple of $100s, where one commercial 90-degree PVC fitting or butterfly valve can cost that much. Commercial pool heaters cost about $90,000 each, and you need 2 or 3, where a residential one is about $1,000. And, you know, this is like, even if we were to modify a standard 2,000 square foot backyard pool for public use, the cost would be at least triple. So there's a lot of requirements that the public requires in the state of California that are not required when you build your own private pool in your own backyard. So, and I'll go more into that next board meeting, but I just wanted to make sure I responded to those two tonight.
Okay, is that it? Okay, we have C5, yeah, public comments on agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak on any item on the agenda may do so at this time, I'm sorry. And I have one speaker, Roy Bleckett, on C4. C4, it was just before we got to C5. Staff response to public comments made at previous meetings. So, Rob Bleckett?
I believe it was F1 was first one. I'll start with that. That was, if I understand it correctly, F1, you're changing the requirements for the risk manager from having a BA degree, from requiring it to prefer. Yes.
That is F1 and there's C4. He's got C4. C4 is the first item?
Yes.
Yeah.
C4 is your first.
Yeah, he was talking about C5. I didn't know if he was confused on the.
He's not. You've got it, what you've written there.
C4.
Okay,
C4 is your first item.
it's not the way I turned him in, but however.
That's why they fall on the agenda.
Can I just finish with F1? Would that be?
F1A?
Since you're having a procedural.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. As you did, what you're doing is actually you are raising the standard. Because what you're doing is you're taking.
Now, F1A, you were talking about approved new certificated, certificated position. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Human resources.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'll start over again. As you do F1, as I read it, you are changing the standards from requiring the risk manager from having a BA degree to making it a preferred. And what my point is on that is what you are doing with that is actually raising the standards. Because now you are considering anybody that would be qualified for the position. Because at some point, there might be somebody out there that does not have a BA degree, but might be the best risk manager. So how I would parlay this into what's going on in our schools, because that's what we should be doing in our schools. We should be looking for the highest standards across the board. We should be striving to get to the highest standards at every rate. We should not be looking to put things into a box. We should be running for genuine accountability in our schools, because for many decades, our schools across California have been crumbling. We have been going down because we have not been looking and we've not been striving to reach the highest standards out there possible. Because rising standards will lead to a higher level of thinking. They will lead to higher achievement. And if that is really the goal, that was what you will focus on in the future. Because that's how you're going to build a better school district. That's how you're going to get a better education. Yes. Well, I'm making an analogy.
Well, we're talking about job description right here.
Yes.
Talking about G1, you put down F1.
Yeah,
F1
it's human resources, job description,
Okay,
coordinator.
I made a mistake on that. Okay, I was speaking on G1. Clerical error on my part.
Okay, so we're talking about job description.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so when you put that together, that's what I'm saying is when you wind this in, we should be striving to look for the highest standards and the best possible people at every place in our school district, regardless of what box you are trying to put people in. And that was been my point of a lot of the things that I've been bringing forward to this school district and where I would like to see the direction focused in the future. Because you look at this stuff across the board, that's where you're going to get the highest levels of achievement, which is if that is your stated goal, that's where you should be. Because families and residents, I believe across the board, are seeking educational excellence for everyone. They're expecting a staff that has an excellent staff, regardless of what may have been done in the past, what may have been the standards in the past, what may have been the education or the hiring practices of the past. That's what you should be looking for into the future. So we do build a better school district, we do build a better community, and everyone benefits in the long run if we take this tack.
Okay,
Now we'll do C4.
okay.
Previous comments, because on the last meeting from staff, because on the last meeting I was not allowed to speak because I was 10 minutes late. But Measure M did come up in this round, so I would like to start with that. Again, what I see is an accountability gap across the board. The questions may be technically answered correctly, but what's happening is you have this accountability gap because across the board, when we get to Measure M, were the promises made when the people asked, when the people voted on that, and the promises and the representations that the school board members and the Yes on M committees were making across the board with Measure M with the 5th high school. You were going to get your facilities rebuilt. You were going to get a 5th high school. One was independent of the other. We're finding out that's not happening. That brings an angst in the community because they're looking at it, well, we trusted you. We trusted you to tell us the truth and tell us what was going to happen, and we trusted that this was going to happen. And when we find out that's not happening, then you have the situation I think we've had in Moreno Valley now. We've had it for a long time, like with the 5th high school. When you ask for $500,000 from a developer, and it's to move a 5th high school for 10 years, and the questions are not answered, then we, the people, when we do ask, we are not getting them answered, or we're not getting complete answers across the board. Developers are not getting the answers. That does not give them confidence to come into a community to make it a better community, to put in the developments that will make it a better community. That's where we're having a big problem, I believe, across the board. And it's not getting addressed. And it's not going to get fixed, and the district's not going to get moved forward if we don't solve these problems and we don't address these. And you don't lay things out on the table and lay the facts out 100%. Here it is. If we are accountable, if you are accountable, then here it is. Let us know. Let us look. That should be an open door policy, not slamming your fingers in the door when we ask. That's happened many, many times. I think there's many documentation, and I hope this board changes this policy, because if it's not, we'll have to look for other means to change it.
Okay. Consent agenda, item D. All matters in this category are considered to be consistent with the board district goals. There will be no separate discussions of these items. If discussion is required, items may be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. So, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion on the consent.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Can I get a second? Mr. Barr? Just call for the vote, please.
Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Mr. Hoageen?
Aye.
Mrs. Smith? Aye. Mr. Ball?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. We have 5 ayes, no nays, and motion carried. Let's move on to action items. It's on page 24. I don't know if you have it marked in your books or not. Educational services.
I move that we approve the actions on the disciplinary case.
Okay, Mr. Barr made a motion. Could I get a second, please, on this one?
Second.
Mr. Hoageen. Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Mr. Hoageen?
Aye.
Mrs. Smith? Aye. Mr. Ball?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye. We have 5 ayes, no nays, no abstention, and that motion carried. Next item will be E2, Business Services Action Items on page 26. This one, I know, I forgot it. I'm going to ask Tina, but before I do that, Susan, at the very end on page 27.
I see
We
my
saw
point.
that? Yeah, I've never seen it before, so I'm going to ask you to read that just so.
Want me to read it
But
right
no,
now?
not right now.
I'll be ready.
In just a minute. Okay, but before we go into this, I need to get some words of wisdom from Tina. You'd like to talk with us about this before
Yes,
we call
But
for
if
motion?
you could just state that you'd be acting as the legislative body for the CFD right now.
Yes, I am acting as the legislator for the CFD.
We.
We are, I'm sorry, all 5 of us. Yes.
Right, so this is after you've successfully formed and had the election for the CFD 2017-1 at the June 13th board meeting, the legislative body is authorized to levy the taxes for CFD number 2017-1 and must do so by an ordinance. This ordinance is introduced at one meeting, which is tonight as the first reading, and then will be adopted at the subsequent meeting, which is scheduled for the July 18th board meeting. As part of this first reading, a motion can be made and passed by the board to only have the title of the ordinance read, and if not, the entire ordinance must be read. So the ordinance will be made available to the public for review this evening or in the morning once you've did the first reading tonight. So really, all we need to do is actually have a motion to read the title only, and that'll be it. That'll be it for tonight.
Okay, and before I call for the motion, let me just read this, and you've already said it. But ordinance will be formally adopted after the second reading on July 18th. So at this time, could I please get a motion?
I move that we approve the ordinance number 2016-1782.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
To be presented by title only.
Yeah, by title only, yes. Okay, can I get a second? Do we have-
Second.
Okay, Mr. Barr. Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Mr. Hoageen?
Aye.
Mrs. Smith? Aye. Mr. Ball?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye, we have 5 ayes, no nays, no abstention, motion carried. Now let's go to page 27, and our clerk, Susan Smith, is going to read a short paragraph for us.
Ordinance number 2016-17-82 of Community Facilities number 2017-1 of the Moreno Valley Unified School District authorizing the levy of a special tax within Community Facilities District 2017-1. That is the title.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Now let's turn to page 46.
If you could read the bottom of page 27 first.
I've got my own. The matter related to CFD number 2017-1 is complete. The board will no longer be acting as the legislative body of CFD number 2017-1 for the remaining items of the agenda. And attachments, we have first reading special tax ordinance, and the second one will be special tax ordinance exhibit ARMA. Okay, now let's turn to page 46 for our next item, please. Human Resources discussion action items. Approve new certificated position and job description coordinator, coordinated early intervening services disappropriately. Before I call for a motion, Dr. Verdi, you have anything to add on this for the board?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. As you said, this is a new certificated position being brought forward. It is entitled Coordinated Early Intervention Services and Disproportionality. And this individual will oversee and be responsible for the facilitation of PBIS teams, in addition to the implementation and monitoring of the coordinated early intervention services, and will be reporting to our Executive Director of Special Education and, of course, our Chief Academic Officer as well. This is funded out of the disproportionality funds that the district receives as part of that grant, so we think this is a very good use of those funds to help address these needs.
Okay. Anyone have any questions before I call for a motion?
So now you said this is getting paid for by a grant, right?
Correct.
Now, how long is that, do we anticipate having that grant for?
Maribel, do you know the answer to that, how long the grant is?
The district is in disproportionality, and until we have 3 years of not being in disproportionality, we will be in disproportionality.
So we'll continue getting that
So
grant until we're
it's
3
not
years
a,
of
and
not being
I
in
want
disproportionality.
to, it's not a grant. It's a, the federal government requires, because we are in disproportionality, that we earmark $1 million in our special education funding, which we already contribute a great deal to from the general fund, for this purpose, in order for us not to be in disproportionality.
Okay.
And so this is a requirement, but it also requires that someone oversee the district's process in this, so that we continued. Last year, we had our first year of not being in disproportionality, but we have to have 3 years in a row. So
Exactly what is disproportionality?
it's the number of students who are African American who are suspended or expelled at a higher rate than other students within the district. In our case, it could be any student group, but in our case, it's African American students.
Now, is that based on average or an overall?
It's based on the federal government, what they look at as far as an excessive amount of students being suspended. They look at your percentages, and they're
So-
disproportionate to other student suspensions within the district.
Right, so we have more Hispanics than we do African Americans. So if we could still have more Hispanics being expelled or suspended than African Americans, but still be disproportionate because of the number of how many African American students we have compared to Hispanics? Is that how
Well,
it works?
it's not about the percentage of the students, it's about the percentage of the students that are suspended or
Okay,
expelled.
so just within their own
Yes.
demographic. Okay.
So, for instance, if you had a school that was like the district, 70% Hispanic and 14% African American, and the school had 55% of their suspensions or expulsions being African American, that's disproportionate to the number of students that are in that school. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Anyone else?
I'm glad that we're no longer disproportionate after last year.
For 1 year. We want to get 3.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah, another question?
Not a motion?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do the motion, yeah. But no more questions. I want to get to.
No more question.
Okay. So at this point, could I get a motion on this item, please?
I move we approve the position, job description as presented.
Okay, could I get a second?
I second.
Okay. Could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Morgan?
Aye.
Mr. Hogeen?
Aye.
Mrs. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Baugh?
Aye.
And Mr. Johnson?
Aye, motion carried with 5 ayes, no nays, no abstention. Next, let's move to page 50, acknowledgements.
Why is this called a
Dr. Verdi, since this deals with risk management, anything you want to add to this before we move on to something else?
This particular item, Mr. Johnson, allows us to look at risk management candidates that may have up to 4 years of experience on the job, but may have other certificates and other items in their education, aside from just a bachelor's degree that would qualify them for the position. So we're hoping to look at folks that may have some other educational background that is definitely tied in with risk management that would be a viable candidate for our position.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah,
Ms.
are
Randall?
Are there people out there that have been in risk management positions that do not have bachelor's degrees?
Yes, ma'am. There are some candidates out there that have maybe traveled a little different path and received other certificates and compliance certificates that pertain specifically to this job, to this field, but they may not have received a bachelor's. So that's why we want to make sure that those folks also get an opportunity with us to apply.
This is typically people who have like a lot of experience with the insurance agencies and things like that. Is that
Correct,
right?
because it's such a specialized field. Those folks may have, again, gone down a different path for their education.
Would we encourage any, not applicant, but the people that gets hired, would they be encouraged to get the bachelor's degree?
We always encourage continuing education in all of our positions, Mr. Holguin. I think for folks, it probably is something they weigh with the need for their field. If it's something that more and more districts require, then we would say you may want to look at doing that. I would probably say it depends on the position and what their goals are, but we always try and encourage folks to continue education, no matter how that may look. It might take on different forms than a bachelor's degree, but we always want them to continue to be going after their education to be a better employee for us.
I have a question. I have a friend who is not here, it's a teacher's aide, and she's been a teacher's aide for years. Her mother has a degree and is a school teacher. Her husband has a degree, but she doesn't. So my question is, just about what you just said, at what point do we talk with them about doing that, about getting that degree? I mean, because you just said we encourage, but what does that mean?
I think in the classified arena specifically, some of the professional development we do definitely ties in with that. And with the teacher shortage, just to speak to that for a minute, we have been reaching out to a variety of classified folks to do that. And it's usually through our professional development that we do in-house, Mr. Johnson. But just off the top of my head, the gentleman who won the countywide Classified Employee of the Year, who's a campus supervisor over at Badger Springs, is completing his teaching credential in bachelor's right now. So we do have folks out there that have made that transition from classified to certificated, and when they have that heart for kids, that's something you can't train. This gentleman has a heart for kids. He's going to be a tremendous teacher. So we continue to look for folks that have that capacity.
And we didn't rehearse this before, but that's exactly who I was talking about. I wanted you to make sure that you mentioned that.
Yes, sir.
Because if you didn't, I was going to mention that. So thank you very much.
Sure.
I appreciate that. Any other questions? Okay.
Move that we approve the job description.
Actually, we don't really need that.
Oh, good.
That's okay. That's okay.
Oh, I like it.
Information
Yep.
only.
So now we're on page 53, comments from the board and the superintendent.
That went fast.
That was great.
Just want to
You can't write it.
get us out of here even quicker. So I think it's a good move to get that changed to a preferred, because there are a lot of people out there that don't have degrees and that are very qualified, that have a lot of experience. And I know we want to push our youth that are out here to get their degrees, and that's always the first course, is to get that degree. But there are many people out there that don't have that, but they do have a lot of experience that makes up for 4 years of education when they have 8 years or 10 years of experience doing the job. So, I would take somebody who's had 8 years of experience or 5 years of experience even doing the actual job than someone who just got out of college. And that's something that, you guys need to apply to yourself as well when you're doing what it is you're going to school for. Go and volunteer. Go and get experience doing stuff. Work for free while you're in school. If you're getting student loans, you're getting some means to be able to support yourself so that you have experience that you can actually rely on is with your degree. You're not just showing up somewhere after 4 years of education and you have no experience working anywhere with just a piece of paper. Say, hey, I have this piece of paper and I've done this, and this, so that way you're a more qualified candidate. You need to be as qualified as you possibly can be and not just have a degree. So I think it's good that we're doing this for this position. You definitely can't do this with every position, but there are some positions that we can afford to do that with, and it will bring a deeper pool that I think might have more talent. So not much else that I can comment on. It's been a pretty busy week, but that's all. I'm glad that we got that done, and we're wrapping up early tonight. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Mr. Hogan?
Yeah, I just want to thank the superintendent and the cabinet for putting this particular special meeting on the calendar all the way from the beginning of the year, having the vision that there would be items that had to be taken care of today to comply with deadlines and other requirements. So I just want to say thank you for putting that together. We took care of the business that you needed to take care, and that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank
I
you.
wasn't expecting that to be so short, Mr. Holguin.
I gave him 1 minute, that's why.
It's a short meeting, so we're talking short. Okay. My initial reaction to this whole risk management thing was we should have somebody with a bachelor's degree at least. But then I am looking at they have to have 5 years in risk management in lieu of that bachelor's degree. So they do need a depth of experience. Which is why I thought, I guess I could do that if they have 5 years experience in the field. Again, it's been great to be here. I'm glad it's been a short meeting. I guess we just don't have that much to do. And looking forward to a great summer and the next year with our students. And thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barr?
I understand that we now have filled the position over with manufacturing production, and I'm wondering if there are enough students where we have them assigned, or are students from other high schools going to be able to come to that program?
Yes, to your question that other students can go to the program. We actually have it during the day and after school, so it's available to students at different times. And we are recruiting for students. We just recently had an open house, so for the students and the parents, so they can go visit. So we'll be monitoring that, and we'll be going out. The counselors are aware, and making sure that we recruit the students for that pathway. And we also currently have a summer program also open to get kids excited about it, because sometimes if we do that, they tell their friends. And so we're doing that during the summer also.
My next question is, how's summer school going?
Summer school, it's going well. We have it at all the comprehensive high schools, the alternative sites. Also, we have summer academies at 5 of our middle schools, and we have summer learning at 10 of our elementary schools. And our students have been enrolled in classes to not only make up credits, but also to assist them in improving their grades and to get ahead. So we have different services now in our summer school to make sure that our students are not only meeting graduation requirements, but also A through G requirements.
And how is it going with free lunches during the summer? Oh.
We actually have what we call snacks. It's not a full lunch program, but all students are getting snacks and breakfast also.
How many kids are we serving?
In the
park.
Oh,
That's
I'm
what
sorry.
I'm talking about.
Okay, I'm talking about summer school.
No, I'm talking about in the park. Oh, sorry, I
I
wasn't
think the
more
last
clear.
number I've seen, it was over 1,000, like 1,100. But I can bring back some new information.
And how many sites? Is it 4 sites?
I think it's 6 now.
Okay.
So students that are not in our school district can have lunch there too? Yes. Okay.
Okay. That's all.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. I only had 2 things, but I added one. The first one is I want to make sure I thank everyone for your cards, your thoughts, your prayers, and your concerns over the challenge that I had the first of the month. I'm reminded of when I first came out and I said, "Hello, everyone." And I said it with a smile, but I didn't get a response. Now, I'm not trying to get on anybody, so don't hear that. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because nothing is promised to anybody. You know, once I was put to sleep, it wasn't promised that I was going to wake up. So I said that to say this. You're not going to hear me arguing with anybody and getting all upset. I'm not going to do that because I know how much life is precious to all of us. Doesn't cost us anything to smile at someone. Doesn't matter if you like them or not. Life is short. I had no idea that mine could have been cut off, but it actually happened. So, again, I want to make sure I end on a happy note with this. I do want to thank everybody for their concerns and their thoughts and their prayers. I don't know how this thing happened, but I know one thing. I got another chance. Now, the other thing I have is, you know, people say I like football and I like sports. I do, sure do. But I didn't get a scholarship to college to play football. My sons, I have two sons, they didn't get one either, and both of them have their degrees. But it's a sport that I love. And if you ever watch the football game, when a player makes a touchdown, they celebrate each time. And what the NFL has done this year, they've said, we are not going to cut back on the celebrations. Personally, I wish they would sometimes, but they said we're not going to do that. We're going to allow them to celebrate. Now, the game is not over yet, but they're celebrating. They're celebrating that touchdown, or they're celebrating that home run that that player just hit when he hit the ball out of the park. Now, why do I bring that up? While I don't mind getting beaten up, I don't mind being criticized. I mean, those type of things happen in our lives. But when we score a touchdown, we need to celebrate, all of us. And I'm going to put Dr. Ketchior on the spot because I didn't have this, I wasn't going to talk about this tonight. But in 2010, do you know how much money we got for scholarships? Was it about $10 million? Less than $10 million. We celebrated then, because I was on the board then, we celebrated because we had $10 million in scholarships. But the game wasn't over. And in the school district, it's never over because you're going to always have kids unless the district shuts down and closes and they move. But you're going to always be celebrating. We very seldom hear folks celebrate. But if you watch a football game, not only does the player and the players celebrate, but the fans and the stands celebrate. And if you're at home and that's your team, you're not going to make me believe that you don't celebrate. Yes, we do. All of us, we do that. You have to ask yourself, what are they doing going from $10 million in 2010 in scholarships for our children, and now they're at 66 million? Something is 63 million. Okay, 63. Take three back.
Recording and clothing.
Okay, $63 million. How did they do that? Who did it? There's a young lady sitting over there that's one of the benefactors. There's a young man over here that's one of the benefactors. If we wouldn't have done anything from 2010 up until now, as we hear folks talk about how bad we are and what we need to improve upon, and yes, you haven't won the game yet, so you still need to improve. You still need to score more touchdowns. But those kids, put yourself in their shoes. They're like saying, wait a second, I just graduated and I had a wonderful time. Dr. Verdi and his staff work hard, very hard. Now, how do I know that? Because we've gotten letters from people saying to us, I want to stay. And I know I shouldn't go that far, but I want to stay. But Dr. Verdi do a wonderful job getting the very best people to teach our kids as possible. And they're doing a wonderful job. So I'll close by saying this. The game is not over, and we're not in the fourth quarter. We just started. We just scored. And we got $63 million in scholarships. Tell all those parents, tell all those kids, send that money back, because we need to get this fixed first. You don't need that right now. Let's work on something else. Or we can say, you know, congratulations to these two kids right here and anybody else who graduated. Not everybody got a scholarship, but I can tell you this, they work hard to make sure that they graduated from high school. I know that's their job, but it's the quarterback's job to throw a touchdown pass. If he doesn't do it, he's going to get fired. It's the running back's job to score and run and score a touchdown. So we know that's our job. But be like we are when we at home, we watch TV and we see the Rams score, or we see the Cowboys score. They score more. But anyway, so you can take that for what it's worth. I'm not angry with anybody, but I'm just simply saying, if we score a touchdown, let us know. If we allow our quarterback to get sacked 3 or 4 times in one game, let us know that too. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Would the board and the cabinet please join me down in the front of the dais? We have a special presentation this evening, and we waited till the end of the board meeting to do it. So would you please join me down there? You don't need to bring your things. You can come back up and get it. I want you to introduce yourself. And Angel, I want you to come down here and introduce yourself.
As your intern?
Just introduce
Okay.
tell who you are and where you're going to school.
Okay. Hello, I'm Viridiana Jauregui. I just graduated from Valley View High School, and I will be attending CSUSM San Marcos and majoring in nursing.
And tell them what you're doing this summer.
Thank you. And this summer, I am being Dr. Katsura's intern.
Hi, I'm Angel Hernandez. I just graduated from Vista del Lago High School, and I'm going to UC Irvine, and I'm gonna major in computer science, engineering, and business. Oh, and I'm Dr. Katsura's intern as well.
So part of what happens in the district, there's over 200 students that are learning and growing this summer. They're working all over the district, they're working all over the community, and part of our LCAP, we pay them to be here. I want you to know when they go on to their colleges, where they go to school and their universities, they get jobs because of the experience they had in this Asterisk program. So we're very proud of these students, and we're very proud of what they're doing to change our community, but to change our school district, but to also support themselves in becoming independent and also learning while they're growing and getting ready for school. I am modeling something tonight for them. It's specifically for them because they're going to work in a career probably for the rest of their life unless they win the lottery or they have some inheritance that happens. But usually they're going to work the rest of their life. Myself, I've worked in education over 37 years. And I've enjoyed every day of it. Tonight, we're going to recognize someone that's put in over 27 years. Now, she doesn't want to be recognized, but we're not doing it for her. We're doing it for these two young people here because we want to model behavior that we want them to see as they grow up, because that's what you do. When people leave you, you tell them how much you appreciate them, but you also, while they're there, should tell them too. And make them feel valued and appreciated. So I am modeling this for you, Angel, and for you, Viviana. I'm not going to say it right, but I want you to know this is important. So Debbie Soto, would you please join me down here? I want y'all to present it to her. And I know the board probably wants to do this too, but I'm letting these young people, you know, I hope you don't get upset.
I'm upset too.
But I want y'all to thank her for what she's done. Just
It says,
read it into here, please.
in recognition of your 27 years of dedicated service to the Moreno Valley Unified School District, presented in June 2017.
Well, do y'all, congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Kitson.
I mean, she's retiring from our district, and it's going to be a big loss, a big void. You probably don't know everything she did, but she came here in 1990 from Arcadia, and she spent 27 years here making this school district be one of the best efficient, well-run school districts anywhere. I mean, she has high expectations, and it's a wonderful thing because she does more and gives more than we could ever expect. So I want to thank you for that. And then I know you want to say something.
Yeah.
Y'all want to say
Let me just
something
say,
too, you know.
How fitting is that? I have a lot of stories, and yes, I'm a grandparent, so you can tell. But I can't ever forget when I went to Sacramento, I think it was sometime last year, and Debbie went with us. And as far as I was concerned, I thought her job was just to hand out, information, paperwork to us and stuff like that. But that's not what she did. She made sure that each one of us had everything that we needed. It didn't matter what time of day or night it was. If we needed something for that conference, she was right there, and she ensured that we got everything that we needed. I also had the opportunity to see her when she worked upstairs in Dr. Ketzer and Dr. White's office. I've never seen a person as dedicated to a job, to a organization, the way she was. She and I had some personal conversations, and I've had some personal conversations with a lot of people, so don't get that thing twisted. But we had some, and one of the things that she shared, and I'm not going to go into no details, is that she loves helping people and she loves to be happy as well. All of us feel the same way. And so she was doing everything for us, but she also needed to do some things for herself and her own family. And I appreciated somebody sharing that. Didn't complain, but she just let me know how she felt about the organization she worked with, she worked for, and her own career and things like that. So I know wherever you are, and I know Dr. Verdi, she works with him now, and you see he's smiling. That means I think they got together earlier and said, look, I need you over to in my area, and she did that, and the district is a better for it. So thank you so much for everything that you do for us. We appreciate it. So I will, Gary? No, Gary Barr. You want to say something, Gary? Oh, he doesn't? Okay.
So I know Debbie flourishes outside of the limelight. She's one of the people behind the scenes that makes everyone she has ever worked with that much more successful. And anyway, I gave a big speech this afternoon in Human Resources. You all missed it. You should have been there. I'm not going to take up all your time today. But Debbie's contributions to the district are just have been wonderful and predate a lot of us that are on cabinet, all of us, in fact. She goes back quite a few years, and her mark has been left in a very positive way, so we wish her well. Congratulations.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 7:26 p.m. 6:26. Oh, 6:26. We could have had 10 more speakers. No, I'm just kidding.